Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for being here. I'd like to welcome all of you to the panel discussion on Rhythmic Odyssey, where we wish to discuss everything from folk rhythms to film soundtracks and from protest songs to pop hooks by exploring how rhythm carries beats, melodies, and stories. So I'd like to start off by requesting each of my panelists to introduce themselves very briefly. So Shriya, can you start, please?
Hi everyone, I'm Shriya. It's lovely to be here. I'm a 19-year-old singer-songwriter from Mumbai. I create pop music and I love R&B as well. And yeah, it's just such a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Parag ji, for calling me.
Thank you, Shriya. Suresh?
Is it okay?
I think it's...
Yeah. I'm Suresh Thomas. I am probably the oldest man in the music industry still active. I've been in the music business for 40 years, over 40 years actually, with CBS Records, Magna Sound, and then I started Crescendo, or BMG Crescendo, it was popularly known as in the 90s. And now I'm setting up a music label for Sunshine Pictures. This is going to be called Sunshine Music. We're hoping to launch it in the next month or so. Thanks. Nice to be here, and thanks, Parag.
Hi, I'm Atul Churamani. This side of the stage is from Jurassic Park. So we are all kind of, back from the days of the LP, the vinyl. So Suresh and I were colleagues, Parag and I were colleagues, CBS, Magna Sound, etc., etc. Today I have a music publishing company, which is a small part of the music business that's not very well understood by young artists. So we try and help them with their copyright in the composition and lyrics and struggle to make money. I always say we run a not-for-profit, not by choice, but that's our business.
Thanks so much, Atul. Thanks, Suresh, and thanks, Shriya. Shriya, as the youngest member of this panel, what's your first memory of rhythm or music that moved you emotionally or physically?
Sure. So as most kids, I grew up watching a lot of Disney movies. And there was one in particular that really moved me. And it's this movie called The Princess and the Frog. And it's a timeless Disney classic. I really love that movie. Because most Disney movies like Frozen, they would have your Demi Lovato's and all of these pop amazing artists, sing like the title songs. But this movie featured a lot of jazz music, specifically New Orleans style jazz music. And I just remember thinking, that's different, and I want to create something that stands out and that's different. And that's a movie that just shifted me. So, yeah.
Okay, that's wonderful. Now, Suresh, Shriya comes from obviously a completely different generation. About you talking about being part of the industry for 40 years, what got you involved into this industry?
Okay, mine is an interesting story. Probably I got interested in music, per se, when I heard the Beatles album, Beatles for Sale. This was when I was 14 years old. And then I decided I'd try and be like one of the Beatles and failed miserably. Anyway, I learned to play the guitar. Later on, I had the opportunity to work with Mr. Ratan Tata. I was his executive assistant for 2 years straight out of college. And then when I heard that Mr. Tata was starting a music label called CBS Records back in the early 80s, I requested him. I said, listen, I want to be a part of this. And that's how I got into it. So if I'm here, it's thanks to Mr. Tata, who's been my mentor. But since then, I've done so much, and I think I've mentored a lot of artists over the years. That's it.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Suresh. Now, Atul, wanted to ask you, what do you make sense of rhythm as far as music is concerned? What is it that kind of appeals to you as far as music is concerned? Is it the rhythm, melody, lyrics?
I tend to believe, Parag, can you hear me? Yeah. So Parag, I tend to believe that rhythm is something that a baby is the first sensation that a baby has, right? So when you're in the womb, the heartbeat is really what picks it up. And that's where I think all rhythm emanates from. For me personally, my earliest memory of rhythm actually is my mother telling me to feel my heartbeat and saying, it's saying something. And I said, what's it saying? She says, I love, with every beat of your heart. And I was like, okay, so when Parag says this panel is about protest in relation to rhythm, I can't relate with it because I tend to think that rhythm generates love. I look at it completely differently. And to me, the rhythm of a song is really what identifies what we call a genre of music, right? Genres get identified by rhythms. So we'll let Shriya talk more about that. I'll only show my ignorance if I say anything.
In fact, I'm glad you made reference to Shriya over here because just to continue from what you've conveyed to us about the relevance of rhythm, Shriya, as a singer-songwriter, when you compose or perform, how does rhythm shape your narrative?
So I think rhythm drives my storytelling, and it just kind of sets tone, pace, and emotion for the song. So I think better than speaking about it, I thought I would show you guys. So would you be interested in hearing one of my original songs and just a snippet of that? I would like to hear something from the audience, please. Yes or no? Yeah?
Forget about them, I want to hear it.
Yeah, we want to hear. Yeah, Shreya, thanks.
Thank you.
Call me, waiting and waiting for you to hold me, but I'm not the one on your mind. I think she's pretty and she looks so kind. Her smile is nice, but what about mine? What about mine? Who's picking your calls up at 3 a.m. now? If it's not me, then I don't think we can work this out. Tell me, baby, when you look at me, is it her that you really see?
Okay, so this is my song, Hor.
Yep.
It was
She
actually
deserves a big clap for that. Sorry.
Thank you so much. That's very sweet. I wrote this song when I was 16. It's one of the first few songs that I ever wrote.
Wow.
And
Superb.
thank you. What I wanted to kind of bring to light was the rhythm in this song is carried by the strings. So you hear these pizzicato strings that enter in the second half of the first verse. And that's something that adds groove, adds some kind of pace and momentum to the song. The drums don't enter until the pre-chorus. So rhythm is not always something that needs to be percussive. It could be in other instruments too, which is something that I'm trying to explore within my own music itself. And there's one more song actually that I wanted to play for you guys. It's a new release, it's not out yet. It's gonna be my next release though. And we've tried something really cool in this song where we've tried a beat switch. So if you guys have heard of Anderson .Paak, Kate Renada, The Internet, it's a very nice band that I've been listening to for a while. They do these things in their songs where they kind of switch it up. I think even Frank Ocean has done that in his song Nights and Pink and White, also classics. And we've tried to, try something with a beat switch as well and see how that changes the emotion in the song. So yeah, I think we're gonna play the second clip now. This is Talk to Me. Thank you. This song is definitely more in the electronic space. But again, we've tried to do this beat switch because I think it just adds a new dimension to the song. And again, the rhythm is primarily carried, I mean, yes, of course, there are drums, but it's primarily carried by the vocal chops, which is quite interesting. Like what you heard in the end, that super percussive thing with the vocal chops. Again, we've tried to drive rhythm through vocals and atypical instruments rather than just percussion. So, yeah.
Thanks so much, Shriya. That was an absolutely pleasant surprise to be able to hear a song that's yet not launched. Okay.
Thank you.
Now, just to continue the conversation, Suresh, I'm going to direct the next question to you. Through your interaction with artists through the decades, do you feel rhythm is inborn, inherited by legacy, learnt, or a combination of these attributes, and why?
Why are you confusing me in my old age? Okay. No, I think rhythm is something that comes naturally to everyone. It's in everything that we do. And like Atul pointed out, right from your mother's heartbeat to, when you start growing up and you start listening to music, the first tendency for all kids to do is to start dancing, even before they can understand the lyrics. Okay, what someone is singing, they'll start moving to it and dancing and stuff like that. So I think it's there, it's in all of us, and that's why it's so important to everybody and the music business as well.
So like I was saying, you've got identification of genres for sure, but even when you look at instruments, you look at musical instruments from across India, for example, the minute you hear a dhol, you think of Punjabi, you think of Bhangra, right? It just gets so associated with a certain kind of music. And the interesting thing about musical instruments is that they're called different names in different states, whereas they end up actually being the same instrument or a little variation of the same instrument. And depending on the region that you come from, so it's a tradition where people call it folk or, whatever. But there is a certain kind of rhythm that is played, a certain kind of rhythm that is used in celebration. There are war cries, there is, war announcements and heralding of, great things or bad things or whatever, which is all done through these musical instruments, especially percussive instruments. So, yeah, it is there. It is there everywhere, I would say. Rhythm is actually the most important thing, according to me, in music.
Atul, right at the beginning you spoke about the close association between rhythm and love or affection as the case is. But at the same time, folk songs have also been utilized, like you said, like I said, as far as protests are concerned, okay? Either globally or within India. Do you believe that's true? And if so, any examples?
See, music is about what you're saying, right? And you can say things according to the lyrics. But there are certain forms of music that maybe originated from rhythm. So for example, everyone knows rap music today, hip-hop music. What was it? It was actually protest songs done by a certain section of the community in the US. They were complaining about something, but that's not where rap started, because if you remember Rapper's Delight was a party song. But slowly the movement became a protest about the blacks, protesting about whatever. And it got associated with a certain kind of rhythm, which then took on the genre of hip hop and rap and stuff like that, right? So it does get associated with a certain kind of music, but it's really what you're saying in the music. Like I said, you have rap songs which are happy songs, and then you have rap songs which are protest songs. So it's not just the rhythm that determines what you're saying. It is equally the lyrics.
Okay. So just to continue on this conversation, Suresh, you are familiar with the so-called Woodstock era, which was, of course, that era where I think we first heard about protest songs. Any recollection of that and how it has, impacted you, either in terms of rhythm, lyrics, or as far as the artists are concerned?
Well, I don't know whether the protest songs in any way moved my life. Yeah, of course, there were a lot of bands at that time, who I hadn't heard of, and when I saw that movie, when it first came out, I was fascinated. Yes, there were protest songs in it. I think it was mainly addressed at the Vietnam War that America was fighting at that time. But honestly, if you ask me, protest songs come out all the time over the years, and I don't think it solves any problems. Wars still continue. People shout about it, but those who want to fight, fight. But the music, of course, was the foundation for what I grew up listening to. A lot of rock and stuff like that. But other than that, I don't know. I don't think the protest songs made me get up and start rooting for Vietnam. So that's...
No, that's fine. And Suresh, just to continue this conversation, you've headed, as you said in your introduction, a label known as Crescendo, which a lot of people might know also because of its close association with BMG at one period of time. As of date, we have Crescendo again as an independent label.
Still there.
So just wanted to ask you that, it's been the home of some of India's most iconic pop talents through the years. Now, from your vantage point as a label owner, what do you believe is essential today to discover, new sounds in a market which is both cluttered and at the same time fragmented as far as music is concerned?
Well, I think even at that point in time, which was a good 30 odd years ago, when we introduced, say, Mika and Mohit Chauhan and Lucky Ali, I think in that era, and even, I'm speaking for both Magna Sound and Crescendo, because we were the two sort of pioneer companies in, pop music. I think, everyone at that time was listening to Alka Yagnik, or it was Kumar Sanu, what was the typical filmy songs. Even the independent songs that they released, or the so-called pop albums that they released, were all in the same space. I think where both Magna Sound and Crescendo did something kind of revolutionary was picking up something different. Okay, at that time, today, the genre of, say, what Silk Route Mohit Chauhan's album was, or Lucky Ali and all, it's been replicated hundreds of times later with various artists. But in that time, when Baba Sehgal came out, it was completely different. And even a Mika, my own office people told me that I've lost my nuts, head, okay, doing Saban Mein Laga Yaag. And I said, no, it's just different. So what I look for today is not necessarily, and I may be sounding terrible as a music company head to say something like that, I don't necessarily look for the best vocalist or who's pitch perfect. I just look for something that's absolutely different and stands out from the rest of the crowd. And I think that's what it is, because when you get an artist who's sounding completely different, of course there's a risk. It doesn't mean, people are going to like it. But at least it'll stand out. At least it will be given a listen because it's different. That's all.
I think that was the success of the pop that we did in the 90s, right? It just sounded different. And very disparagingly, we used to call the film sound a very dholak peti sound. Whereas I think we went and internationalized the production sound. And I can't stress how much production plays a part in music. A lot of it is attributed to producers. Michael Jackson was perhaps one of the finest producers of music, but he still went to Quincy Jones for his own stuff, right? So the thing is that, it like Suresh said, it has to sound different, and it's now reached a stage, and you'll be surprised. When we were doing music back then in the 90s, we thought there must have been about 10 or 12 genres of music. There's pop, there's jazz, there's rock, there's metal. Today, believe it or not, there are over 6,000 genres of music. Going by the digital platforms, there are over 6,000 genres of music because they've been sliced and diced. There's no more EDM. Electronic music probably has about 1,000 genres within electronica. So, the whole world has changed, and now rhythms are determining whole categories of music.
Atul, basically what you're conveying is the sound, rhythms, call it by whatever definition, is something which is evolving on a day-to-day basis. In fact, again, to pursue this topic, you yourself have been instrumental in redefining India's contemporary soundscape from your days either in Magna Sound right down to EMI India by fusing genres effortlessly. How do you see the balance between traditional melody and global influences evolving in today's music culture?
Again, I have to stress that we come from Jurassic Park. So, we don't necessarily understand what Shriya is doing today, right? Because we come with our own baggage. We still think the Beatles made fantastic music, Michael Jackson was great, etc., right? So, the listener is evolving. He's growing up in a different environment. And that's equally important for the artist to know, what are the kids of today listening to? What are the kind of songs they're listening to? We felt back in the day, Suresh and me, that this dholak peti sound of Bollywood was kind of not cool for people who are listening to international music. And that's really where our pop music went. It became very Western sounding. Today, there are so many different things that these kids are growing up to, and that's exactly what Shreya's playing. Back in the day, I don't know if we would have signed something like that, because the rhythm was just something that we didn't relate with. But the rhythm that she's playing today, it resonates with a lot of the listeners. So it's an evolving process, and you can't say this is good, this is bad. And I think one thing that we will agree on is that we have no clue. When you do music, you just do the music, then you go sit in a temple and pray like hell that it becomes successful.
True.
Atul, I won't stretch it to that level, but I understand that, with every generation, there's a new sound that is being evolved. And Shreya, I'd like to bring you into this conversation right now, because you are part of the new generation of Indian artists, if I can call it as such, okay? And your music blends, both authenticity with experimentation, which are the samples which you played for us. How do you approach creating a distinctive voice in a space that's increasingly shaped by algorithms, streaming platforms, and short-form content?
That's a loaded question. But I think for me, the first way I would tackle that problem is I write solely from my life experiences. And I think that is the first step to being authentic, is writing about how you feel, your opinion, your views, your experiences. And when it comes to, the outside noise of the world having algorithms, and there's so much pressure to create real music, which apparently that's a concept now. Very interesting. But I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to do something that, if it connects with you, it just connects with you. And that's great. I'm not trying to make music for Instagram to enjoy. I'm trying to make music that I enjoy and other people might also enjoy. And if they also enjoy it, that's great. And I think being relatable as an artist is also super important, because if you want your audience to understand, they've probably gone through something similar. Like if I'm writing about, love and heartbreak, there are 15,000 other teenage girls and boys that have gone through something similar. So where can you find relatability, and how can you connect with your audience? And I would also just use social media platforms and the algorithm to connect with the audience, but without giving in fully and creating music with that purpose. I would create the music first and then kind of, figure out marketing around it and how I can be strategic about the way I present it. But I create music for the soul, and that's a bunch of artists that I listen to do the same thing. They don't have a very social media centric approach. They do it for themselves and for the soul. And yeah, I think that's just how I'm experimenting. I mean, I'm 19, so I'm relatively new, but I'm trying to be as authentic to myself as possible.
19 is old today. But so, one thing that Shreya said, which is very important, and I firmly believe this, is that, and it comes back to the heart, right? So music is created from the heart, and the minute it touches a listener's heart, it becomes successful. So if you're creating music from the head because Arijit sings in a certain way, I must sing like that, you're creating from the mind, and it probably goes through people's minds. It doesn't stay. So you have to be authentic, like you said, Shreya. Create from the heart. It will, the minute it starts appealing to people. And one thing you have to understand is that this whole algorithm business today is really about, it's seen as a disadvantage because there's so much out there and there's a problem. But it's actually very, very cool because you're finding your audience, what they call the super fan. The algorithms are finding the super fans for you, All you need to do is you need to tag your music correctly because the machine is reading what you're writing. And it's directing you to people who listen to that kind of music. So it's a great advantage.
I may add here, if I have time, that during the 60s, the labels, international music labels, they used to kind of try and control what the artists were doing and what the bands were playing. But during the late 60s and early 70s, they realized that an artist would only grow and develop and would only create something different if they were given the freedom to kind of develop the music they wanted. And then, from typical rock and roll, we spun off into bands like, Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin and The Doors in the early 70s, which probably would have never happened had the label said, your song has to be only 3 minutes long. It has to have, 2 verses. Sorry?
The hook has to
there has to be a hook. It has to be radio friendly, and you can't use abusive language. But during the 70s, if you talk about a revolution, that's what happened. The bands revolutionized the music. They said, doesn't matter. We want to sing this. We want to use abusive language. We want to, talk about drugs. We'll talk about it. And I think that's why, the international music space evolved into a wide variety of music. But, I think the artists need to be given their freedom to do that.
And it resonated with the listener because the listener wanted to listen to stuff like that.
So, Suresh, then what I need to ask you is, as Crescendo Music, as per your association with Sunshine, to what extent are you allowing the artists to kind of govern your decisions? Or is it something where you again leverage on algorithms or analytics in terms of deciding who you want to sign on to these respective labels?
Well, honestly, I know nothing about algorithms, okay? I don't follow them, I don't look at them. Again, as much as an artist thinks from their heart, I think we as, coming from an A&R background, we think from our hearts too. We say, this sounds nice, I don't know if it'll work, like he says, go to the temple and pray. We just try something, it can only come from experimenting. You try to work within a certain formula, and it tends to happen, because when we are sort of working on a commercial, framework, we tend to say, nahi, yaar, ye gana chalna chahiye, this has to work, otherwise, money will get lost. But unless we keep our minds open and try something different all the time and ignore the algorithms and what somebody else says, that's very important, because it could be your boss, it could be your subordinates, it could be anyone. They say, nahi, this is not good. I always tend to feel, let them try. Let's try something different.
That's nice. In fact, Atul, as someone who has personally witnessed the evolution of the Indian music industry from the physical format to digital, how do you view the future of music publishing and rights management in ensuring artists get their fair share in the streaming economy?
So, it's the amount of music coming out today is absolutely incredible. There are over 150,000 songs being released every day into these platforms that we all use, Spotify and YouTube, etc. So what has become critical now is the data, the metadata of the songs, which identify what the song is, who the artist is, who the composer, author are, so that they get paid correctly. With the amount of music coming out, the amount of data out there is mind-boggling. And it's very difficult because, just as a layman, I Love You by John Smith. There are probably 30 songs like that coming out every day. So which John Smith, which I Love You? So what's happened is that we're trying to standardize metadata to include 4 identifiers. And this is being done through the Bureau of Indian Standards, the government organization, which certifies everything, your Amul butter and this, that, and the other, all done by BIS. So we're trying to get it into the metadata to say that the recording, the composition, lyrics, the composer, author, publisher, and the performer all need to be identified by their numbers, because that will provide accuracy in the global copyright societies to pay the correct people. And it's incredible that, there are, at the last count, there was something like 20 million songs paid for, which couldn't be identified globally. It was a huge amount of songs. So unless we now ramp up to meet this challenge, and don't forget now AI-generated music is going to come in, which, pick a number, it could be 1 million songs per second, right? So how are you going to handle this data? It becomes critical. So you need to have standardization of metadata rolled out with diligence, which will then be used to track and identify the usage of the song so that the correct people are getting paid.
So Atul, this initiative has already started,
so
and where are we at this period of time?
I head the music and sound sector for the Bureau of Indian Standards. It was something we started as a proposition 3 years ago. It's taken a lot of time because, people are scared that the government is going to get involved, they're going to mandate this, that and the other. And also, we were the first country to actually do it. So I had to deal with, people from the UK in terms of the UK Intellectual Property Office, CSAC, IFPI, etc., etc. And they all said, wow, this is a great initiative, why doesn't your government take? But the thing is that there is a political side to the government and there's this functional, let's say, bureaucratic side to the government. This comes under this side. So they don't want to make a noise about it, etc., etc. The important thing is to get the job done. It's not really about who said what and etc. The UK actually started 1 year after us, and they're now rolling out a trial because there are many challenges. Publishers don't have label data, labels don't have publishing data. So there's a complexity that needs to be handled. But hopefully within the next 1 year, we should be able to put out our standard. The paper is ready. It just needs acceptance all around, and then hopefully we'll be off the mark.
So Atul, when you speak about India having actually been a front runner, as it were, do you believe that finally whatever we implement is something which we can take global and have, all the territories finally accept a single standard, or is it going to be again a state of confusion across the territories?
See, the beauty is that we're talking about only 4 identifiers, and these identifiers are all ISO certified numbers. So they anyway running globally. It's about being diligent to include them in the metadata. Okay, and that's all. It's a simple ask. One identifier, the recording code is anyway being put in. It's the other 3 identifiers where the names are being put in. You just need to put the number in. So it's not rocket science, but people are, they're apprehensive about change. Let's put it that way. But hopefully it will roll out and it will be a standard. It has to be a standard. Otherwise, people will not get paid correctly. It will be global for sure.
Oh, that's wonderful news. Atul, Shriya, I'd like you to get your opinion about AI, because that's the catchphrase of the day, as it were. So what either excites you or worries you about AI in music, keeping in mind that you are a singer and a songwriter?
Okay. I think with AI, it's just so cool that there's this rise of tools that you can use. ChatGPT is like one of the most common tools, but there are a lot of songwriting tools that are out there, and a lot of, well, this is a bit technical, but plugins that you can use, when you're producing music. And I think that that's just a tool. It's an enhancer. But where I think we go wrong is when we use AI to an extent where we lose originality, which is why I always say I think writing songs by yourself is the best way to write it. Don't use ChatGPT. I think it's okay if you want a few filler words here and there, but do it yourself, because that's you, that's your tone, and that'll come out super organically. However, if you're getting a machine to write something, it's different than a person. So I do feel with technology, the feeling can't really be, replaced because of AI. Yes, it can help enhance, but I don't think it could ever replace. I mean, that's just songwriting, but even when it comes to, getting on stage, having an amazing performance and interacting with the audience, how could AI ever replicate that emotion? So, yeah, those are just my thoughts on it.
Should I tell her my future plans? So I'm going to change careers now. I'm going to become a singer called Pandit Bhimsen Atul Jackson. I'm going to sing all Michael Jackson songs in Indian rags, Rag Bhimpalasi, Thriller in Rag Todi and all that. And my only job is going to be increasing my social media following from 3. I have 3 followers currently. I'm going to go to 30 million. The minute I go to 30 million, all my songs are going to be hits and viral and all that. So they'll have to call me for any concert that happens in the country. They have to call me, right? So I'll go on stage, I'll stand there, the songs will play, people will clap. And I'll be doing that concert simultaneously in 50 cities across India and 250 across the world. That's what AI can do. Think about it. So the power of AI is limitless. And it's very important then that we put in the correct checks and balances on laws. Because a lot of the worry now is about the output of AI generated music. And you have to understand that a machine can't create. A computer can do only three things: add, move, and compare. So if there is a song that is being put out through Suno AI, all it has done is, if it's a great guitar solo, it has picked up little bits of a Jimi Hendrix solo, combined it with a Mark Knopfler solo, combined it with an Ehsan Noorani solo, and created a new song. It's not a new song. The machine can't create. In fact, there was a case, Parag, you'll be aware, in the US, where they were trying to patent a coffee made by a machine. So Supreme Court of America ruled that the machine by itself cannot create that coffee. It is the prompts that are given by the human being, because all copyright is by law created by human being. So the human being has put in the prompts without which the coffee can't create it. But the danger is that these machines are spewing out so much AI music that you now need to start identifying whose music has been picked up and used. So tomorrow your song, what you played just now, could be sitting in 2 million songs that are released tomorrow. You need to be compensated for that. Right. So that's going to be the challenge when it comes to AI.
So, I've got your opinion, Atul, Shriya's opinion. Suresh, as far as you are concerned, do you also believe that music rhythms will always remain human?
Well, I guess everything, even if you talk about computers and AI, it all originated from human beings, right? Someone had to come up with that technology, and someone had to create the hardware and then the software. And that's all been done by humans. So the human element will never go away. But of course, I know today the way technology is progressing, I don't know how one controls it. Maybe Atul has a better idea. All I've seen over the last 60 years of my existence, new technology when it comes in is always resisted. Okay, and particularly by the artistic fraternity. I mean, I'm just saying, even when drum machines came in, the drummers were saying, what is this? We're going to go out of business. And then today you have a keyboard where you can literally program a whole song, or on a computer. So, but over a period of time, unfortunately, there's no way of fighting technology. Maybe you can control copyright or something where Atul is more, more qualified in doing something like that. But you can't escape it. You can't prevent it. We have to adapt. We have to live with it.
So I think Suresh has said it exactly. So you harness technology, you don't fight it. And what Shriya was saying is that you learn to use the AI just as drummers learn to program drum machines. So musicians learn to harness the technology and create better output. So AI is great for research for musicians. I talk to musicians and studio engineers and stuff. And what they used to take 4 days to kind of check and reference, they're getting in a few hours now. So it's a great tool. So all musicians will probably need to learn how to use AI to better their skills. It's not going to replace anyone. I definitely don't think so.
Okay, so what I'd like to do over here is, take a little pause from our conversation. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to address any questions to the, okay? Would you be kind enough to introduce yourself, provide a little background of who you represent, and address it to the appropriate panelist?
Hello, I'm actually Divya Samnis. I am the CEO at an independent music label, and we just started 2 years back. So I have a very important question that really is what we usually struggle with, because production of making a song, from creating it to executing it to the video release, is quite it's very expensive. Whereas usually you don't earn anything from it. So if you don't have any proper backing, a proper person putting money into your company, how do you run a music label? Because cost of one song is a lot.
Should I answer that or somebody else? No, well, I think this is a problem, and that's, I think, the greatest problem the music industry and the artist fraternity, have to deal with today. Because what returns we're getting from streaming platforms or from, YouTube or whatever is not even, I won't even call it a pittance. It's a pity rather, compared to the amount of investment that goes into, creating a piece of music properly. I mean, people do smaller productions on their keyboards or whatever, but if you want live instruments, you want to create something. And then apart from that, apart from creating the music, you have to market it. You have to make a good music videos. What we used to do in the 90s are better than what are being done today. And we used to spend proportionately much, much more, 10 times more than the average music video today. And that's because of this problem. Now, my solution to that, I don't say it's a solution, but one way or the other of trying to address is again going back to, the roots of what I started Crescendo, which is artist management. It's going to be 1 in 1,000, if not 1 in 1,000,000 chance that one of your songs is going to get viral and it's going to reach those billions of views where, okay, the money you have invested in is going to get us back in those days. We used to say, okay, this artist can do this and this is the kind of music and this is the kind of video that has to be made, and the marketing at that time, of course, there's MTV, Channel V, which is all gone now. We have to depend on this. But I think the money lies in the live events, like Shriya said. We can't replicate that with AI or in any other manner. So if we can partner each other and we find a way where both parties can earn money, like you're talking about investments, your investors will only be happy if they see a return. I mean, people get attracted to the music business and they'll put in 10 crores and they'll say, oh, we're going to make money, and they don't make money. So this is the only way to do it. The artists and music labels, artists need promotion, they need marketing, they need investments, and we in return, we need to make money. I mean, any investor on any label has to make money, so it can only come through that partnership.
Thank you so much. So basically make a lot of quantity and hope one works with collaboration.
Yeah, like I said,
Yeah.
you can like play dice, not even dice, you'll need 1 in 1,000,000 to get a hit. But we have to find a way, that might happen, but we need to have some support from both sides.
So, you said it, Suresh. So, the thing is that it's music, it's entertainment. So the tendency is to jump into it first and then scratch your heads and say, where the hell is the money, right? It's a business like any other business. So if you were starting a pharmaceutical manufacturing company, you'd make a proper business plan and then get into your investments, right? You wouldn't start manufacturing the chemical and then saying, okay, now what do I do, right? So it's a proper business. It has to be viewed as such, especially because of the challenges that Suresh was mentioning. Today the business is such, and it's not going to change in a hurry. So Spotify and JioSaavn and all might say, we're only going to go subscription, we're only going to do this, that. It'll take time to do it. Ghana tried it, where are they? So it's going to be the same business that will continue in the foreseeable future, which is challenging. Suresh just said it all. So then what are your alternate sources of revenue? Unless you build that business plan, you're just sitting in the temple.
Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you so much. Hello everyone. Hi, there was a nice session. RJ Abhinav here from FM Rainbow Mumbai, and because I'm the RJ and VJ also and the actor performer, so I definitely play a lot of music, a lot of songs there on my radio. Suresh sir, आपसे बस एक ये सवाल था. The main thing and the main problem is that with the music industry nowadays कि अब दोबारा रीमेक का वो ज़माना आ गया है जो पहले रीमिक्स का ज़माना था. अब शायद स्पेशली विद द बॉलीवुड इंडस्ट्री कि हमारे पास अब वो न्यू म्यूजिशियंस नहीं है, और जो म्यूजिशियंस है एक्सेप्ट AR रहमान कि उसके अलावा हम न्यू म्यूज़िक अच्छा क्रिएट क्यों नहीं कर पा रहे हैं और न्यू सॉन्ग्स नहीं आ रहे हैं. एंड आई थिंक यू आर सीइंग ऑल्सो दैट कि अब वो पुराने जो सॉन्ग्स आते हैं उसको हम रीमेक ज़्यादा कर रहे हैं, इवन विद द हेल्प ऑफ AI. उससे भी वो नया क्रिएट नहीं हो रहा है. लाइक एक्चुअली वी यूज्ड टू लिसन टू द म्यूजिक ऑफ स्टालवर्ट्स खयाम, नौशाद, शंकर जयकिशन, लक्ष्मीकांत प्यारेलाल, सलिल चौधरी, जो ये सब थे, और उसके बाद एक्सेप्ट AR रहमान तक आकर शायद वो जर्नी रुक गई, जिनमें से कुछ अगर एक दो नाम और लें तो शायद आगे बढ़े. तो प्लीज़ कैन यू टेल अस अबाउट दैट?
Okay, I hope I understood your question properly, and sorry, I'll answer in English.
Okay,
My
I can
Hindi
repeat that then.
is not broadcast quality. But I think, you see, good songs and good melodies never die. So, जैसा आप कह रहे थे, you know, Naushad Saab ka and, you know, whatever R.D. Burman did. But let me tell you, a lot of the composers, whether it is A.R. Rahman or R.D. Burman, or you can name any of them, they have all taken inspiration from from international music from all over the world. Even they have played around with what do you call imitating music in many ways, and of course reinterpreting it and doing their own thing. So I think that even the biggest bands in the past, you know, maybe it was the Beatles or whoever, they all started off doing cover versions. But as their own content became more and more recognizable, they didn't need to do cover versions anymore. So that is always going to be there, and I think it's a very good entry point for many musicians. And that's where the music labels, you know, उनके पास अभी copyright उनके हाथ में controlled है. So it's not easy. अब 10-15 साल पहले it was very easy to do a cover version of a song or a remix of a song. You have to just send a notice to the other label and say we are doing this, and we used to send them a 50,000 rupees check, and you know everything was sorted. But today you have to go back to each label and get their approval, or maybe they won't give you the rights. They may say you have to release it through us. Whatever it is, there are restrictions today in doing that. But there will be ways. Artists, particularly when they're performing live on stage, you know, they have to do cover versions till such time they build a bank of their own songs which give them that credibility. I hope I understood your question right. ये पूछ रहे थे ना?
So I actually just want to add to that. How old are you?
I am. You can guess, but actually 35.
See, the problem is that you're 35 years old, so you're carrying your baggage. Where you think that there needs to be that one global hit. Every song has to be Tauba Tauba.
Okay.
Right? Every song doesn't have to be Tauba Tauba. I told you there are 6,000 genres of music. Today, so just to put it in context, when we joined the business, especially this fellow, there used to be a Billboard US top 10. He could rattle off the top 10 every week. That top 10 used to be made of pop music and rock music because that is what was popular and used to sell the maximum. It was based on sales. Then hip hop came in the mid to late 80s, and it entered those charts because it was selling as much. But while you had the top 100 of pop, rock and hip hop, you also had jazz charts, you also had Western classical charts, you also had Latino charts because people were listening to that music. It wasn't because there was a top 10 that they were all going to switch to pop and rock, right? Today, understand that those charts are completely irrelevant. It has no meaning at all. I will not listen to some song by Taylor Swift because every song in her new album is sitting in the top 10. Today, Spotify gives me my top 10. That is important for me. Have you heard of Purple Disco Machine? No. It's one of the biggest bands in the world, right? I listen to Purple Disco Machine. I want to listen to it. I'm not interested in what Taylor Swift is doing. So personalization has become the name of the game. I promise you that a lot of my house help, drivers, cooks, etc. have never heard of Anuv Jain. They've never heard of Darshan Rawal. They've never heard of Osho Jain. Does that mean those boys are not popular? Does that mean they're not selling tickets and filling out stadiums? It doesn't matter whether they're sitting on some global chart. So when you pick up stuff to play on radio, right, you're playing it with a certain sensibility, exactly what Suresh was saying. So each radio station has its own profile. You're not looking for that top 10. You're listening to something saying, hey, wow, this is cool. And that's what you're going to promote. That's radio's job. That's what radio always did. They created hits. They created artists. You don't follow trends. You're not looking at some Instagram saying I'm putting it on my playlist.
Or you mean to say actually we are playing the song according to the audience or the listeners?
No,
what they want to hear.
You're the taste maker. You see, again, Shriya said a very important thing. When Calvin Klein made jeans, Calvin Klein did not take a notebook and ask everyone what kind of jeans do you want to wear. He made the jeans. They were pink in color for men. There were 6 pockets on this side. And he made you feel like an idiot if you didn't have them. Marketing, right? So that's what creation is. And that's what tastemakers and influencers do. Influencers who are earning so much on short format apps, what are they doing? They're picking up a cool piece of music and they're putting it out there. And that music is becoming viral. right? So it really depends on your taste making. You are important because you are telling the audience that, hey, listen to this. I like it, it's great stuff. So the world has changed. Don't go for Toba Toba. Toba Toba aayega, it'll be that 1 in a million hit that will come.
Okay, one last question, please. Sorry. Then the other questions we can take offline. I'm sorry, we are running out of time.
Sir, I am a 90s kid. And Atul sir, Suresh sir, आप लोगों ने जो 90s में म्यूजिक दिया हमको. See, I was also Studio Plus editor. Both of you know me, right? I was a kid at that time. Suresh sir तो knows me. कितने गाने एडिट किए सर हमने रात में बैठ के. 2 o'clock in the night DG बीटा पे गाना आता था, हम काटते थे और चढ़ाते थे. और सर सैटेलाइट, कैसेट्स, Napster killed us for the first time. Then those idiots, I don't want to name them, they started the other type of videos, nonsense videos, no sense. Sir, Baba Cycle videos, remember the first 2 videos we made at night? It was crazy. Even Colonial Cousins. So all of this, today the youth even watches it. What is the problem today? Tell me what is the problem? YouTube, Instagram. You can't become a singer because of YouTube and Instagram. Reality shows, they're a problem. Indian Idol, all these other reality shows. Sir, we discussed that the other day. I came to your office, right? We have launched a music verse. I'm a computer scientist from IIT Bombay, 1998. I have given you an app. It's called the Ajab Music Verse. Ajab group is me and Anup Jalota, the chairman of Isamra. Sir, I update you on this. I met Suresh sir in his office. You need a platform where a musician comes, puts his content, doesn't depend on YouTube. YouTube charges you money for becoming viral. Instagram charges you money for becoming viral. Right? You have to be on a platform, put your music out. If people like your music, they can send you a gift. Sir, musicians made money from Inam. The kings gave money, right? What happened before the music industry came, before the cassettes came? And you need to get booking. You get a AC servicing guy from Uber, from that urban company. But can you book a musician for an event at home? For a Sangeet Sandhya, or for a Shok Sabha, or for a birthday party? Give a musician reward as the Ajab coin, which is an NFT registered, and book the musician for an event at your home. Or book him for a concert, book him for something. So I'm giving employment to the musician for his own platform. ajabmusicverse.com. It started, and I met Suresh sir for it. We couldn't meet again, I was busy. We need to start this. So this industry needs musicians to get a platform and not depend on social media. Social media is a virus. It's going to destroy society. Trust me. I am 1998, 78 born. I have seen computers destroy the world. I'm telling you, it's not right. Sir, music. First we were recording analog, then we were recording optical. Now it's all become digital. You don't have a digital technology, you can't encode audio today. It's not that. Social media is not for talent. Social media is only for going viral and getting followers.
No, thanks for your
That's what I'm
opinion.
saying. So please, all musicians, all talent, please be yourself.
Okay.
Don't depend on the platforms.
Okay, thanks panelists. Thank you audience for being attentive. And we'll take all the future, we'll take your question offline please. We've run out of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Parag.
Thank you, dear panelists. May I please request Veeru sir to come on stage and hand over the Rotary certificates to our esteemed panelists and the moderator. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking